Oh, hey, what's going on, you guys? It is Sam from CameraLegend.com, and we are back today, and I'm really excited to showcase for you guys today's Camera Legend. This Camera Legend is a medium format Camera Legend. It is the last camera from a great camera making company, and in my opinion, an exceptional image maker. And that camera is the Bronica RF645. Alright, and in today's episode I will tell you guys what the Bronica RF645 is, what it isn't. I'm going to show you some images from the Bronica RF645. I'm going to go over some pros and cons with you guys, and finally, as always, we're going to find out if this camera is for you. Alright, first let's take a look at what the Bronica RF645 is. The Bronica RF645 is a medium format film camera introduced by Bronica in the year 2000 and discontinued in the year 2005. It was made by Bronica under the ownership of Tamron. The RF645 uses a rangefinder focusing system. It takes interchangeable lenses, and it produces 6 by 4.5 images on 120 film. Alright, you awesome and voracious camera geeks. Well, my initial encounter with the Bronica RF645 actually goes all the way back to the year 2010. That's when I bought my first copy. I held on to it till about 2015, and then stupidly I sold it, I guess when I had gear lust for something else. And you know what, I can't even remember what I bought after I sold this one, so that tells you how important that was. Anyway, I want to show you guys some pictures from that era so you guys can see what the images are like from this camera. Alright, so as you can see, I really love this camera for portraits. That vertical orientation works perfectly for that purpose. But first I just want to tell you what the Bronica RF isn't, okay? It is not autofocus. It doesn't have auto wind or auto rewind, which is great, right? The lenses are leaf shutter lenses, okay? It has a vertical framing like this, okay? Well, instead of me just describing it, here's what it really looks like. Here's one for you awesome, voracious, and salacious camera geeks. So if you're used to 35mm where it's horizontal, that might take some getting used to. Now of course you can turn the camera around for those horizontal shots, but you just have to get used to it. But eventually you do get used to it, just the same way that you get used to Canon lenses turning one way and Nikon lenses turning the other way. You get used to it. This lens right here, this is the only lens that I've used on the Bronica RF645. This is the 65mm f4. Translated to 35mm equivalent, that would be roughly about a 40mm f2.5, okay? As far as, you know, how your shallow depth of field might be, but light gathering power and f4 is still an f4, so that means that depending on the conditions you still have to pay attention to the shutter speed. I just want to let you know what this camera is not. This lens is not going to give you a Canon Dream lens kind of bokeh, and I was a little concerned about that, especially back then in 2010 when I was still in my bokeh mode. And what this camera did was it taught me how to appreciate the more subtle bokeh, you know, and made me less of a bokeh whore, because back in 2010 I was a big time bokeh whore, man. Flicker. That was all the rage back then, you know. That beautiful dream-like bokeh, swirly bokeh, all that stuff. This camera offers none of that. This camera and lens offers none of that swirly bokeh. But you learn to appreciate its subtle bokeh a lot more once you begin to make images with this camera. And right now I'm just going to show you quickly 2 or 3 images from my latest batch. Now in this set I'm going to do a little image analysis just to show you guys the finer points of what you guys would be getting should you decide to buy the Bronica RF645 and the 65mm Zenzanon lens. Alright, so this image was taken last month in the New York Botanical Gardens. Now, as you can see, I'm zooming in just so you guys can see the level of detail that this image has. And this was taken on Ilford HP5 Plus and developed in Xtol. Now, as you can see right there, you're just really limited by the film. You know, look at the sharpness there, right? Look at the details right there. The 65mm Zenzanon is pulling in some spectacular detail right there. All you need to do is go back and look at the full image to fully appreciate the level of detail that you are seeing right here. Alright, so this image was taken during that first January snowfall here in New York, and I'm just zooming in to show you guys the crisp sharpness of the lens and the beautiful subtle bokeh in the background. You know, that's what I'm talking about. And I believe it's really hard to appreciate all this on a screen, especially here on YouTube. I have to invite you guys over to check out my prints someday. All right, well, in this image, I just wanted to show you guys the quality of the bokeh. Look at the Christmas lights right there. Obviously, this is not a character lens like the Canon Dream lens, but it definitely has a character of its own. Now, only you can decide whether you like this kind of bokeh, but as for me, I love it. Instead of the character of the lens being the star of the show, this kind of bokeh allows the subject to be the star of the show. Alright, so if any of you guys are looking for the Bronica RF645, the prices are trending now between $900 to $1,500 for the body only, and roughly $450 to $650 for the 65mm f4 Zenzanon RF lens. So for this whole package, you're looking at probably around $2,000 or a little bit under. Alright, pros and cons. Real quickly, I've listed a bunch of pros and cons in my article, so if you're really interested in this camera, check it out over there. But just for the sake of keeping this video from dragging on more than it already has, I'm just going to give you the main one. So pros, for me by far, portability. Alright, now it's not a small camera by any means, especially when you compare it to today's cameras, but it's definitely small and compact for a medium format camera with this kind of quality lens on it. So this is actually a very nice portable medium format camera that you can take out in the field, and it's not so heavy. It feels solid, but it's actually on the light side, so you can carry it all day long, and you probably wouldn't feel it as badly as you would carrying like an EOS 1 or a Nikon F5. Alright, so for me, portability would probably be tops. Secondly, you get more shots per roll, so you get about 16 shots per roll in this camera. So what the Bronica RF645 loses in negative size, it makes up for in shots per roll. The camera handles very nicely. The shutter speed dial has a distinctive feel to it. It doesn't move out of place so easily. And the camera has a very competent set of well-placed controls, including a self-timer and multiple exposure capabilities, which you don't find too often on cameras these days. The focusing action on the lens is very smooth and well dampened. Alright, cons. I believe the most negative aspect of this camera, just like the other electronic cameras that we've talked about, the Contax T2, the Hasselblad X-Pan, Nikon 35 Ti, all those kind of cameras is the same with this camera. There's always the potential for having problems with the camera and having to get it repaired. And the problem with this camera is the lack of repairability. All right, now check this out. One of the main issues with this camera would probably be this film winding mechanism, because it always feels somewhat fragile, and I've definitely heard of folks who have had this mechanism break. Another thing I found quite common with this camera is the rangefinder alignment. Sometimes they'll go out. Now you would think that a competent camera repairman would be able to fix these issues quite easily, but the problem really comes from the availability or lack thereof of the parts, okay? Because these cameras are not like the millions of Nikons and Canons where you can take like a part from a Nikon FE and then put it into a FM and make it work. These cameras are more rare, more uncommon, so it would be harder for a repairman to actually get the parts. You know, they would need to have another donor camera, because they wouldn't be able to get the parts from the manufacturer anymore. So that is one thing that you definitely should consider before buying one of these cameras. So considering all these factors, we come down to our final question: is this camera, the Bronica RF645, for you? All right, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that for most people, all right, most of the general public, probably most of the folks watching this video, I would probably say no, because of the prices, the increasing prices, because of the potential problems in getting it repaired. Now, for you hardcore, and this is what I mean by hardcore, for you hardcore camera lovers who have thought about the Bronica RF645 for a long time, and you know a little bit about it, I would say this is actually a good time to get them, because while their prices have increased, they haven't gotten to that level like the Mamiya 6 or the Mamiya 7s or the Leica M cameras, Leica M film cameras yet. So if you wanted to get one of these cameras, the time to do so is probably now. Just make sure you're buying it from a reputable dealer, where you can return the camera or lens if you had to, right? Because I can guarantee you that based on the trends that I've been seeing, probably a year from now, it's going to get up to that ultra high collectible level where it wouldn't be worth getting anymore. Alright, so I hope this video was helpful for you guys, and if you found it helpful, don't forget to smash the like button. You know, it's very important to hit that like button, especially because the YouTube algorithms are not particularly favorable to small channels like this. So when you click on the like button, it helps the video to become more visible. So I thank you guys for doing that. And if you love camera legends like the Bronica RF645 and you're not already subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, because there are plenty more camera legends coming your way. And if you don't do it for me, do it for the cameras. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time on thecameralegend.com. And this one's for you, babe. Yes. YouTube. Ciao.
Cameralegend.com